Hello students, welcome to the class. Students, in the previous class, we learned about the cell organelles that are lysosomes and mitochondria. Now, in this class, we will going to study about the another cell organelles that are vacuoles. So, in this class, we will going to study about one of the cell organelle that is vacuoles. The vacuoles are storage sacs for solid or liquid contents. So these are the storage sacs of the cells for liquid or solid contents. Then these are small sized and temporary in animal cell, while it is large, distinct and permanent in plant cells. In the animal cells, they are small size and they are temporarily present. While in plant cell, it is large, distinct and permanent in plant cells. Then, the central vacuole of some plant cells may occupy 50 to 90% of the cell volume. In plant cells, the vacuole present at the center. So the central vacuole of the some plant cells may occupy 50 to 90% of the cell volume because they are large structure present in the plant cells. So they occupy the 50 to 90% of the cell volume. Then, in plant cells, the vacuoles are full of cell sap and provide turgidity and rigidity to the plant cell. They provide turgidity and rigidity to the plant cells. That means the pressure exerted by the flow of water in the plant cells, they provide turgidity. So it is a pressure, and rigidity means they are not able to walls bend. So the walls cannot bend due to the rigidity. So the rigidity exerted by the pressure, that is from the turgidity. So the vacuoles provide, so the vacuoles are full of cell sap and provide turgidity and rigidity to the plant cells. Then, the many substances of importance of the plant cells are stored in the vacuoles. So here the vacuoles are storage sacs for solid or liquid contents. Hence, many substances of importance of plant cell are stored in the vacuoles. And these includes the many important substances of the plant cells that are stored in vacuoles includes amino acids, sugars, various organic acids and some proteins. And the vacuole is bounded by a membrane called tonoplast. So here the vacuole is a membrane bounded cell organelle. So the vacuole is bounded by a membrane called tonoplast, and it occupies a central position of the cell and so pushes nucleus and other cell organelles near the boundary wall. That means it occupies, so it occupies central position of the cell. Yes, so it occupies the central position of the cell and pushes the some cell organelles and nucleus towards the boundary wall. That means boundary wall means the cell membrane. So they pushes the nucleus towards the cell membrane. The vacuoles are mainly called as a storage sacs of the cell. So these stores the amino acids, sugars, various organic acids and some proteins. And in single celled organisms like amoeba, The food vacuole contains the food items that the amoeba has consumed. So, in unicellular organisms, a specialized vacuoles also play important roles in expelling excess of water and some waste from the cell. So, here the vacuole is the storage sacks for solid or liquid contents. In single celled organisms like amoeba, the food vacuole contains the food items that the amoeba has consumed. And the specialized vacuoles also play an important role in expelling, that means remove the excess of water and some waste from the cell. So here in plant cells, vacuoles are full of cell sap and provide turgidity and rigidity to the plant cell. The cell sap means it is a watery solution rich in sugars, amino acids, minerals, proteins, and metabolic wastes. So the cell sap means it is a watery solution rich in sugars, amino acids, minerals, proteins, and metabolic wastes. Then let us study the functions of vacuoles, or here you can observe the structure. So it is a plant cell. In the plant cell, it occupies a central position of the cell. So it occupies the central position of the cell. Hence, they pushes the some other cell organelles towards the boundary wall. That means the boundary wall means a cell membrane. So it is occupies the a central position of the cell, and it is a large structure. So hence the nucleus pushes towards the cell membrane. So here you can observe it is a nucleus. It pushes towards the sides of the cell membrane. And this is the structure of central vacuole. So the vacuole present in the central position of the cell. So the vacuole are bounded by a membrane called a tonoplast. The vacuole are bounded by a membrane called a tonoplast, and it contains a cell sap. Cell sap means a watery solution rich in sugars, amino acid, minerals, proteins, and metabolic wastes. Then, this is the structure of the plant cell central vacuole, that means the vacuole present in the central position of the cell. So it is a large structure, hence they occupy a 90% of volume of the cell. So they occupy 50 to 90% of the cell volume, and hence they pushes the some cell organelles and nucleus towards the cell membrane. Then the functions of the vacuoles. So it helps to maintain the osmotic pressure in a cell. So the vacuoles helps in maintenance of an osmotic pressure. That means the pressure exerted during the osmotic process. So the pressure exerted during the osmosis process is called an osmotic pressure. So that helps in to maintain the osmotic pressure in a cell. And we already know that the vacuoles are the storage sacs of the cell. So it helps to store toxic metallic byproducts of the plant cells. So it helps to store toxic metallic byproducts, the toxic metallic byproducts of the plant cells, and it provides turgidity and rigidity to the plant cells. So these are the functions of the vacuoles. They helps to maintain osmotic pressure in a cell, and it helps to store toxic metallic byproducts of the plant cells, and it provides turgidity and rigidity to the plant cells. Students, so far we studied a different cell organelles of the cell. So we studied the different cell organelles that are nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, lysosomes, mitochondria, and vacuoles. So each cell organelles involved in a different functions. So they are involved in their specific functions or some specific biological activities. So, thus, we can conclude that each cell acquires its structure and ability to function because of the organization of its membrane and organelles in a specific ways. That means they organized in a specific ways to perform a specific functions. And the cell does have a basic structural organization. This helps the cells to perform a functions like respiration, obtaining nutrition, and clearing of waste materials or forming a new proteins. So each cell organelles involved in their specific functions. Hence, the cell is the fundamental and structural unit of living organisms. It also the a basic functional unit of life. We studied the different cell organelles and we come to know that the cell organelles perform different functions that are needed for our life. So they involved in a respiration, obtaining nutrition, and clearing of waste materials or forming a new proteins. Hence, the cell is the a fundamental and structural unit of living organisms. It also the a basic functional unit of life. Then, so now we can differentiate between a plant cell and animal cell based on the topics we have discussed in the previous classes. So, let us differentiate between the plant cell and animal cell. So, now we can easily differentiate because we study the cell organelles. Based on that, we can differentiate. So, the differences between plant cell and animal cell, the first character is that a cell wall. So we know that a cell wall present in the plant cell, whereas in animal cell it is absent. And the cell organelles which are present in the plant cell, whereas the plastids are absent except in protozoan euglena. So the plastids are absent in animal cell but it present in protozoan euglena. And coming to the vacuoles. So vacuoles are single, large and centrally located vacuoles. So in the plant cells, the vacuoles are large. So they are single. So they are single in plant cells. So they are large and occupies the 50 to 90% of the cell volume. Hence, they pushes the nucleus towards the cell membrane. And in animal cell, the few small vacuoles are seen. So here, the few, the number of vacuoles are more in animal cell, but the s- size of the vacuole is less. The few small vacuoles are seen, whereas in plant cell, the single, large and centrally located vacuoles. Whereas in animal cell, they are not located at the central region of the cell. Then, coming to the size, the plant cell is larger, whereas animal cell is comparatively smaller than the plant cell. So plant cell larger than animal cell. Then the stored food of the plant cell is starch, whereas in animal cell it is a glycogen molecule. In the plant cell, the stored food is starch. In animal cell, it is a glycogen. And nucleus. So the nucleus lies on one side due to presence of a single large vacuole present at the center. It pushes the nucleus towards the one side or towards the cell membrane. Hence, the nucleus lies on one side, whereas in animal cell it lies in the center. Then, the centrosome and centrioles. The centrosome and centrioles are absent in the plant cells, whereas in animal cells the centrosome and centrioles are present. Then, the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus in the plant cells, it contains several subunits of a Golgi apparatus called dictyosomes. So, in the in the plant cells, the Golgi apparatus are called dictyosomes. They contain several subunits of Golgi apparatus called dictyosomes. Whereas in animal cells, they are prominent structures. In the plant cells, it contains several subunits of Golgi apparatus called dictyosomes, whereas in animal cells they are prominent. So these are the some differences between animal cells and plant cells. Students, for today's assignment, please take the questions. The first question is that what are vacuoles? The first question is what are vacuoles? The second question is what are the substances stored in the vacuoles? The second question is what are the substances stored in the vacuoles? Then the third question, explain the structure of the vacuole. The third question, explain the structure of vacuole. Then the fourth question, what is tonoplast? The fourth question, what is tonoplast? And the fifth question, what is cell sap? The fifth question is, what is cell sap? And the sixth question, what are the functions of the cell sap? Then the sixth question is, what are the functions of the cell sap? And the seventh question is, what are the functions of the vacuoles? So, the seventh question, what are the functions of the vacuoles? And the last question is that differentiate between plant cells and animal cells. Differentiate between plant cells and animal cell. Including this, write the points of today's class as a homework. So, write points in both homework and points book. I hope all of you understood this class. Students, we completed one of the chapter of the biology, that is fundamental unit of life. From the next class, we'll start with the new lesson. So thank you all students.